Hello and welcome to the show. I'm here on Project Cars carrying on the career mode and our next race headed to Alton Park. I continued my strong qualifying, putting my car onto pole while Matt continued to struggle. My teammate was not having the best of times with the qualifying for this round. I had a fairly sizable margin as well for my pole position lap. But as we've seen in the past, me getting poled by quite a bit is not necessarily a guarantee for success, and off the line, well, I didn't get a fantastic start. It certainly wasn't the worst what I'd had, but I was stuck on the outside of turn one. A lot of these tracks, I think almost all the tracks I've raced in this Clio Cup have had poles start sort of for the outside of turn one. Little bit of a shame. I couldn't quite hold on to the lead, and then the white car in third had a huge dive. I saw him at the last second and just about managed to give him space when he clattered the curb and got up the inside. Again, I find myself dropping down into third place now. A sizable gap had already opened up to the leader. I was quick on the way up this sort of hill section. This corner I did seem to struggle with, and certainly I got a little bit sideways on this opening lap. A couple of cars behind me followed me off wide through there, and I dropped. This is kind of my customary thing, to drop to around fourth place on the first lap and then gradually work my way back through. It just seems to be what happens. I can never quite get the car off the line as nicely as I like, and that often gets me into trouble with cars around and get caught up in the fighting. But I didn't intend on staying in fourth for any length of time as we come up to the first corner, get a good drive down the start finish. Not really a straight here, to be honest, and get my vehicle to the inside. The AI had a go. He tried it. He tried to hold it all the way around the outside, but he couldn't quite make that maneuver stick, and I would move myself back up into third place. And this maneuver, this overtaking opportunity, if you like, would quickly become my favourite of them. The AIs have a tendency to run a little bit wide. They're sometimes a bit slow out of this corner here, and if I keep everything neat and tidy, I can get a really good drive down here. Gets a little bit freaked out by my car being near him, and then as we come up towards turn one, I have myself on the inside. I do clobber the curb a little bit, and again we have another car trying to keep it around the outside. It very nearly works. Got to be careful if you attack that inside curb a bit too much. It'll throw you up on two wheels and slow you down. I get a big slide. Again, car's having a look. He very much thought about having a dive there. Yeah, that could have ended quite badly if he had decided to dive there, because I was already a bit out of position from that slide and was pushing it quite a bit on the brakes anyway. So yeah, I'm kind of glad that he elected not to. The weather, well, it became a bit sort of foggy, a bit miserable, in all honesty, as I spent a couple of laps chasing down the leader and was now right on his tail, and we were going to go for yet again a very similar overtaking maneuver. This time though wasn't quite as far alongside as I had been the previous attempts, and the AI car keeps it sort of neatly in the middle of the road. I clobber the curb, I'm slow off the corner, and because the AI hasn't run wide, he manages to keep the position. I'm still having a look again, looking to see if I can get up the inside there, which I can't. That curb there was also causing issues with, I think that's one of the problems I was having, or one of the areas that I was getting oversteer, was probably from running the curb a little bit too hard on the inside of the corner. Yeah, I was having a few issues down there. I'm still sat all over the back of him, but this is a corner that I can't really do a huge amount at. It's not a massively good overtaking opportunity, and certainly when you get a big slide, I was hoping to sort of cut back to the inside, but a very big slide there is not going to help. You don't want to be doing that, and I'm too far back to have a look into this final corner. We'll again go for the similar thing of try and get the run out of the turn. That's the best opportunity I'm going to get. This time though, the AI have got wise to that maneuver. He goes quite defensive, and I'm not close enough. I'm not close enough to have a look up the inside. Again, I tend to be a little bit slower on the way into the corner. I get quicker on the way out, but there's just nowhere quite here to really get an overtake done, and I again find myself right on the bumper of the car ahead. I think I gave him a little bit of a bump through there. That unsettled my car had a very big moment. The tyres will not have liked that one, as yeah, pretty much slid the entire way down the hill and bounced across the grass. I did manage to stop it. I did manage to stop it in time for the corner, and we didn't end up pointing backwards, and that is the important thing. I didn't get an overtake done. Yeah, that was a scary, scary moment. That's not one that that I wanted to repeat anytime soon. Then things went even more wrong. I just lost concentration briefly, coming into the braking zone, and may have overshot slightly. Yeah, having just got very, very lucky not to have a crash earlier, I just missed my braking point, and that saw me straight off. Now we had an AI car coming past as I fell all the way back to 4th yet again. This time, again, I gotta manage to freak him out. I don't quite know where he thinks he's going down there. I am stuck on the outside though, and the AIs are good under brakes into this turn. He sticks his nose up the inside. He's there, he's having a look, but can't really get it done. It was a little bit too sort of slow coming into that corner to really make it work. So I got myself back up into 3rd as we have another humongous slide. Tyre temperatures were another issue I was having with this car. I couldn't keep any temperature in the rear tyres. I don't know why, but I just couldn't. And yeah, in qualifying I've been flat out down that hill. In the race it was decidedly more dodgy if you were going to go for flat out. The weather, well, it continued to every so often come over cloudy. It wasn't the nicest sort of conditions that we found ourselves racing in, but it did remain sunny, or remain dry, sorry, until the end. I just ran out of laps to catch the vehicles ahead. So I would finish in 3rd place. A little bit of disappointment, definitely could have done better had I not had had that off. Matt wasn't enjoying Alton Park particularly. He qualified 20th and he finished in 20th. Admittedly, he wasn't that far ahead the vehicles in front, I'll give him that, but yeah, not such a good day for Valor Racing. In the championship though, because the finishing order of the cars is quite jumbled up between races, I extended my championship lead. Matt pretty much fell off the bottom of the table in this round. Wasn't such a good race for him, but yeah, I continued to extend my championship lead despite a poor finish. Race 2 got underway and it was still in the gloom. This time I got a really poor start. That was completely my bad on there. Really struggled to get the car off the line here. However, I did only lose 1 position at least by the time I came to the first corner, so you know, it could have been a lot worse. This time there's a lot more scrapping going on this first lap as we head down the hill. That's a better camera shot to show just how steep the hill is. No car has a massive dive up the inside of me, but everybody further back. It's 2 by 2 further back there. There's a white and orange car that made up huge amount of positions. There he is. You can just about see him on the inside there as they go too wide. It's all too wide through these first corners. Yeah, he made a massive amount of positions by being brave and keeping on the inside. And for once, I hadn't done my normal routine of dropping back to 4th. I was in 2nd and pushing the leader as hard as I could. Again, getting a little bit of a slide, trying to... I can't really get an overtake through that corner. I've tried before, it tends not to end well. This is where I'm going to have, of course, the best opportunity. If I can get a neat run out of here, and sure enough, the leader was a little bit slow off the corner. They just ran a little bit too wide, a little too far over the curb. I can get my vehicle up the inside, and we're going to have a similar overtake as we've had all day. But he is getting braver. They are getting braver to try to keep it around the outside. I ran him a little bit to the curb. Again, I hit the curb on the inside, trying to make sure we give each other enough room, and that's, of course, slowing me down. Now, the weather is a little bit funny on this one. The replay has gone, shall we say, slightly derpy. Because at quite what points it starts raining, I'm not sure. At this stage, I believe it isn't raining. As you can see, none of the cars have their windscreen wipers on. Ignore the camera effect that we have going on. We will use the windscreen wipers of the cars as judgment as to when it starts raining. So for us, this is still currently a dry race, if you like. So we were carrying on. Now the rain does start to fall when I was actually doing the racing. I had stayed out because it sort of started spitting with rain, and I wanted to make sure that it was properly going to rain, so I didn't have to pit twice, basically. So I had stayed out, and I perhaps stayed out a lap too long. It wasn't really ideal conditions I found myself driving with. As you can see, instantly I'm having more difficulty. We've got Clios on dry tyres racing around in the gradually wettening track, if you like. The car behind started the lap. I had a huge gap back to that yellow and orange vehicle. By the end of it, he's right there. on the back of me because I was just sliding around too much. Now again, replay being a little bit derpy, I've not had this problem before, but I come in the pits to get, well, there's a mandatory pit stop in this, and I come into the pits to get some wet weather tyres. Again, you can see my car's got the windscreen wipers going on, all the other vehicles have got them going as well. It should still be raining, but the replay's not showing it. So, oh, Matt drove past. I saw Matt, we saw him briefly in the out of the corner of our eye on the main straight. Yeah, it should still be showing it as raining. So yeah, I come in, I get my new tyres. We had no problems at all in the pit stop this time around, which is always good after the issues we had in the first 3 rounds. We don't have any traffic getting out of the pit lane, and we carry on. But keep an eye on the white car in the background, the car that I was battling for the lead before, or the sort of the first couple of laps. He pitted very, very early, got his wet weather tyres on. We came out side by side. While I did have a sizable gap when he pitted, I spent a lap floundering around with dry tyres on a wet track, and of course was struggling. He promptly goes to a little bit of rallycross with his Clio, just about manages to pull it up there, and now I have to go and do all the hard work all over again. I just left it a lap too long to change tyres. That's what can happen sometimes. If the rain had sort of faded and stopped, then maybe it would have been the good call to stay out. But yeah, sure enough, it wasn't long before I was right on his bumper. He ran me to the pit wall. I got my vehicle up the inside as more cars are making their pit stops. This time, though, he carries all of the speed. He gets the line just right. They've been threatening to do that to me, but can't quite get it alongside. That was the closest they'd got, though. Scared me a little bit. I got a slight slide on the curb, and then we're in all sorts of trouble down the hill. It wasn't. I've had much bigger slides down there, but of course because it was wet and I think I had one wheel on the grass a little bit. It was a big slide. I just managed to save it. And then I got a fantastic run up the hill. The AIs tend to have a little tiny lift, and I was in just the right place to capitalise on that, throwing my car up the inside across the curb, a little bit out of shape through this next bit. That's not really where I want to be. He's having a look around the outside. That would be an impressive overtake. If you can get an overtake around the outside there, that would be mighty impressive. Yeah, but he can't quite do anything this time round, and then he goes very deep into this final corner and goes and plays in the sand trap and across the AstroTurf, and I got a little bit of a safety back to them. Now the rain was to stop. As you can see, the cars in the background dived into the pits. I think by the end of the race, the rain had stopped again. You can see that I've got the windscreen wipers turned off now. They dived into the pits for some dry tyres. I just sort of stuck it out with the tyres that I had. I think a couple of the other cars stuck it out as well. You definitely don't want to be making 2 pit stops unless there is like really huge condition change. You really don't want to. And yeah, I would go on to take a victory yet again. Matt improved massively though. He got himself up into 8th place. When we have some of these mixed weather races, Matt tends to do a hell of a lot better when you throw in some interesting conditions. So the podiums from the races, while I had fastest lap in qualifying and in both of the races, my silly mistake in race 1 would see me take a 3rd place, while in race 2 in the weather affected, I definitely do better in weather affected ones as well. I would take a 1st place. Overall, the championship standings, I would continue to extend my lead at the top. Quite a big. I love how 2nd and 3rd place haven't had a race win. That's how jumbled up the championship is. And after a poor round 1, Matt's 8th place there would catch him up to the bottom of the table. He wouldn't be quite. I think he was sort of 25 points off the bottom after the first race. Yeah, he improved on that one. The final round of the Clio Cup, we would go to Brands Hatch GP, and I would yet again find myself on pole position. Matt had a good qualifying session, carrying on his good form from the last race at Alton Park there. He got himself up into 10th place. Again, I found myself starting on the outside of the grid. The white and green car got an absolutely fantastic launch back there. I was going to try and brave it out. It was fairly neck and neck between me and the grey car there. I was going to brave it out around the outside, and in the end, he wasn't really close enough to have a look. I did run a tad bit wide, though. Slowed me down as I went across the sand, and now he's got his car up the inside. Although, if you were brave and you have the grip, you can keep it, and then that'll put you on the inside for the next corner, and he doesn't really fancy that one. He ends up out very very wide over the curb there, and then he's in danger of being overtaken by the white car behind. Now this is the corner that I've been struggling with in qualifying, and sure enough, the first lap of the race I get myself in a little bit of trouble, just outbrake myself and run a tad bit wide, and I've fallen back down to second place. The white car has had a fantastic launch. I think he was in 4th place or something on the grid. Yeah, he had a really good start. Then the almighty Clio train comes down the hill. You can see Matt again. Matt's in the video in the background. He was on the inside. I'm not sure if he was defending or trying to overtake from somebody. Again, getting a little bit of a slide through these early corners. Found myself stuck out wide, trying to give the car as much space. Didn't expect them to get brave enough to do a maneuver, but yeah, I yet again, similar to my previous race starts, found myself down into a 3rd place now. There are cars behind as well, looking for a way past, and yeah, I had to go a bit on the offensive yet again, getting sideways across the bumpy curves. Brands Hatch is a pretty bumpy circuit. These Clios do bounce around. Wasn't quite so much of a circuit for getting the cars up onto 2 wheels, but they did bounce around a fair bit. Another huge Clio train going on. Where I tended to be quite strong was off this final corner. I was very slow on the way into the corner, but I could get a very, very quick run off of the turn, and that was where I was making most of my time up on the car ahead. I wanted to have a look down the inside into turn 1, wasn't quite brave enough on the brakes. I'd been having a few issues there getting it stopped, or it was more the oversteer issue. If I was trying to tip it in with a bit too much speed, the car would slide around a bit. So I was a little bit cautious, but another good overtake. This is normally a corner that I struggle at. I really struggle here normally at Alton Park, but I was getting really good runs down that short straight. I wasn't quite close enough to get up the inside on the way into the corner. Fortunately for me, the grey car, I think he slightly clobbered the curb on the inside. That put him out wide, put him slow off the turn, and I could simply outdrag him into the next corner. Going around the outside of that turn is very, very difficult. So I would move myself up into 2nd place. And as the race progressed, the sun gradually set, I would be slowly and very slowly catching up to the leader. You can still see the mighty Clio train that is going on behind me. I was again using similar places to get my speed out of the final turn. I wasn't close enough to have a look, so I figured, you know, I'll be smooth through here, carry as much speed as I can, again on 2 wheels, as that's the normal FailRace racing line there. Yeah, just focus on getting good runs through these corners that I know I can get a good exit on. Again, a little bit over the curb that time. Wasn't really ideal. That put me out wide on the exit of that one, but the leader would have a similar problem the grey car had. Get it up on slightly on 2 wheels, be a little bit slow off the corner, and it would give me the opportunity to dive up the inside. Unfortunately, everything would go a little bit wrong. I gave him a very small bump, and the problem is when you do have a very small bump like that, the cars, you sort of lose all steering. So there's a moment just as I clip the back of him where I just don't have any more steering because he's on the back of my I'm on the back of his car, sorry, and the cars kind of get locked together, and I couldn't turn away. I ended up pushing him out a little bit wide. As the race came to a close, we came to this sort of weird hazy sunsetty thing going on. I wasn't massively comfortable in the lead. Had a little bit of it off on the final lap. I did have a bigger lead at one point. Yeah, there was a little bit of a bump when we came to change of position at the front, but yeah, I would go on to take the victory. Yeah, it's one of those things that happens. It seems to happen quite a bit on Project Cars. Tiny bumps can cause real problems with vehicles sort of losing steering and kind of just being dragged off the track. Matt continued his decent form, again getting an 11th place in this race. Already lost 1 place from where he qualified, which is not too bad considering his previous record. That would mean that after the first race I would take the championship pretty much. There was no way that anybody was going to catch me, and still the 2nd and 3rd place haven't had a victory yet in this series. I was the only driver at this stage to get more than one victory. Matt was closing in at the people at the bottom of the table, and yeah, I had pretty much won the championship. But we went into the final race again, me finding myself on pole. Again, not really getting a fantastic launch. This time it was a little bit, yeah, not quite as good as the first one. The grey car managing to get ahead of me by the time we came through turn 1. But under braking into the second corner, I had a look. Car behind me had an even bigger look. Matt's having up the inside of somebody. There's it's all too wide further back. Yeah, Matt's got an overtake going on. Somewhere, whereabouts is he? There you go, he's on the outside, he's being brave. I don't think he's quite going to make that one stick. It was a little bit more spread out at the front after these first couple of corners. The car behind is having a big look at the inside. I got a little bit better at carrying the speed through that turn. I wasn't quite as sluggish through there as I had been in race 1, and yeah, he was quicker through there, but not by enough to actually have a look. And again, we have the Clio train down this down this straight. Only 2 cars, well, no, there's a third car in the background, were being brave enough to have a go to the inside, have a look, or close enough to be thinking about having a look. But again, the second race, I did better at not falling back after the start. Still trying to find a way past this grey vehicle. I've been battling with him quite a lot in these final 2 rounds as I clobber the curb on the inside, trying to take as much speed as I can. I was hoping to pull up alongside. There just wasn't quite the room there, and even if I did, I was going to be stuck on the outside, which is not really where I want to be. Again, another mighty Clio train is going on down here, slow on the way into this corner. Always scared about the cars behind as they take so much more speed on the sort of into that turn. Always worried about getting knocked off. This time I go to the inside, even better run down this start-finish straight, get my vehicle to the inside. He's going to try and brave it around the outside and manages to just about carry the speed, but again that makes him slow down this next section. I can get my Clio to the inside, and in the end a fairly simple pass. Once I got it positioned for turn 2, a fairly straightforward pass. Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of overtaking at turn 1. It gets a little scary, shall we say, at that first corner. And Matt was actually doing really well. You can see in the background there. The race carried on without too much drama. The weather, it went a bit cloudy from time to time, but on the well, it stayed dry the entire way. And yeah, on the most part, it was quite uneventful. I came into the pits leading the race. You can see Matt again. He's spent got lots of camera time in this round. We're again coming. No need to worry about what tyres we're going on to. Just keep with the current, or with the dry tyres, if you like. And again, we didn't have any problems with the pit stop, which is a relief. I think it's the first time we've gone 2 races without a problem in here, whether it be a wheel gun or traffic or whatever. I was tending to leave it a little bit longer before coming into the pits in these final 2 rounds. Well, certainly at Alton Park it was for the weather, but even if it hadn't been, I was leaving a bit longer to try and avoid the mad rush of cars that come in. I don't want to be held up when it comes to being released out of the pit box. And as I come and rejoin the track, well, the gap was pretty much the same as we left it when I came in. I think the grey car made up a little bit of time through the pit stops, but he was close, but not close enough to really challenge, not really to do a huge amount. And yeah, we're back at the parts of the track now that I was a little bit stronger at. I could just keep a safe gap to the cars behind, and that's how the race would end. Both races on the final lap I had a bit of a scary moment over that curve. This time it was on the inside, a bit on 2 wheels. First race ended up out a bit wide, but yeah, there was a safe gap behind me for most of the race. Brands Hatch was perhaps the least eventful of all the championship races that I went to. Certainly helped by consistent weather, but I was getting the hang of being a little bit more consistent as well, I think, with my driving, so that I could just keep a nice safe gap back to the cars behind. So sure enough, I would take a victory yet again, while Matt would have his equal best performance of the season. This time not a mixed weather one, but he would manage to get his car into 7th place. Probably the best result that Valor Racing have had, I think, in this entire championship. On to the podiums. Yet again, I slightly dominated. While yeah, I did get sort of pole position, and fastest lap in race 1 and 2, it wasn't by a huge amount. You saw how close them cars were for most of the race. Well, yes, I did get all the fastest times. It wasn't by a huge amount. It was just enough to keep my vehicle out in front, and that means that I am champion of the Renault Clio Cup. A fantastic race series. I thoroughly enjoyed driving. I also love the size of the trophy compared to the spotlights we've got going on. It is a monster of a trophy, or very, very small spotlights. Either way, I would take the championship with 4 victories by almost 100 points as well at the front. What I was more interested in was to find out where Matt came. Again, mixture of drivers. This guy who came second in the championship didn't take a victory. Matt managed to drag himself off the bottom of the table with that final race, going up into 18th place. Yeah, he did okay. He did okay in the final couple of rounds. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.